Alright, welcome to another episode of Birdsong. It's your host, Kai Yuda, and I've got another Solocast for your listening pleasure here. And I really want to touch upon some of the stuff that's been going on in my field and offer some insights into the back-end process of creating content in relation to this larger arc of shamanism, spirituality, awakening, healing, wilderness immersion, new earth leadership, all that kind of stuff. So I recently, that's a combination of the words recently and released. I recently put out a newsletter that talked about my vision for this whole content creation, digital escapade saga that's going on in my life at the moment. And what a weird and wonderful thing it is to be trying to find some kind of melding, some kind of harmony in this convergence of ancient wisdom traditions and this modern landscape, this technological foray, which we're all pretty much at the precipice of, if not already deep into. So I posed this question in my newsletter. At what point does our creative expression turn from art really for the sake of art, for the pure necessity of something needing to emerge from deep within our being, within our inner sanctum? And I'm reminded of Rainer Maria Rilke's quote here in Letters to a Young Poet, where he says, "A work of art is good if it has arisen out of necessity. That is the only way one can judge it." So art really needing to emerge out of necessity from somewhere deep inside us versus this digitized world which is steering us toward some form of creationist capitalism. It's the never-ending game of content creation and consumption really to keep the machine cogs spinning, the machine cogs turning. So whether or not you are a consumer or you are a content creator, I'm sure that you've felt this abrasive edge of the digital revolution of which we're all a part of. And look, it can be great. It can be harmful, used for good, used for evil, expansive, contractive. It's the yin and the yang, the polar opposites, but also we can find those polar opposites within each polar opposite. But perhaps of what's most importance is it's our personal rightness and our personal relationship to it, and whether we harness something, this social media, this technological revolution, with harmony in mind. And if we do, well, that light from our harmonious relationship inevitably is going to shine out and inform the collective. Now, there is certainly a message that is sold to us by the likes of Gary Vee, maybe Alex Hormozi. Look, there's a lot of content creators that are speaking about personal branding and showing up in the digital world in a particular type of way. And one would think that it seems like unprecedented times where we can really grab the reins and ride this digital media beast, enacting our creativity, living a life aligned to our deepest passions and our deepest values. And yeah, look, it's all possible, but we need to keep harnessing technology and really keep those digital wheels spinning. So it's a strange old world out there. The merry-go-round keeps going round. And I ask another question. Would creators be creating in this way if we hadn't been funneled towards this digital economy? It's the creator economy that has arrived. So in this digital creator economy, or without this digital creator economy rather, how would we be spending our time? Would we be spending more time in our gardens creating art at ease when we felt like it, not because we felt like we had to, just to try and keep up? And look, I don't want to get too tangential here. There's a lot of ruminations and perhaps maybe they're moot points because we are here now. That is the reality. The digital revolution is well and truly upon us. And like most things in life, it really boils down to our perspective and our intentions. And when it comes to creative expression and content creation, it's a good thing to not be turned off by this word that I mentioned in my newsletter, which is that dreaded word that so many of us have felt that abrasive edge towards. Are you ready for it? Marketing. Yeah, marketing, I know. My newsletter, I could feel the boring-o-meter increase as soon as I dropped that there. I can feel it here in this video already. But really, we've walked alongside this idea of marketing since day dot. You know, we market ourselves to other people for relationships. We market ourselves in our resumes, for job interviews, for businesses, products, and ideas that we're putting out there, all in the name of attaining a goal or promoting a message or moving towards this idea of improving one's quality of life. And in the world of content creation and really actualizing a life that we desire, alongside wanting to make a positive difference here on Earth, you could make the argument that the more eyes on our work, the better. And this is certainly where I am steering the ship, so to speak. The ship of this podcast, the ship of my life direction at the moment. And brings up more questions, really. More questions than answers, perhaps. How are we showing up? How are we marketing ourselves? For what purpose? And if we are to inquire from a place of this connection, this journey of soul and spirit, really the signposts are quite naturally illuminated, at least along my path. And some of those messages on the signpost are show up as authentically as you dare. Clarify your values, operate from that place, orient towards your own personal rightness, toward harmony, marry your being, who you are with your doing in the world. It's classic Eckhart Tolle. Your first purpose is your being, your second purpose is your doing. Those messages continue on. Don't let fear drag you down. Allow creativity to flow. Trust the vision. Listen to nature. Enact your dreams. Give care to the physical vessel, because this is the place where soul and spirit is enacted. Because on the other hand, if we do negate our own values, our dreams, our own vision for our own life, well, it's certainly possible that we find ourselves at the mercy of someone else's playbook. I'm reminded of Dr. John DeMartini here, and he has, I'll paraphrase it, if you're not aligned to your own values, or you're not living life according to your own values, you'll be living your life in accordance to someone else's. So if we are not aligned to the pulse of life that really wants to move through us in a deep way, well, it's likely that in one way or another, we're actually aware of it, and frustration lurks, resentment builds, disappointment lingers, the overwhelm, it percolates throughout our body, depression settles in. I've been there, I know it myself, I go through phases of it, and I recently came out of one just a few months ago. The tides of life really have their way of sweeping us back into the ocean and back onto the shore. And the cycle repeats from time to time, the seasons of life. And during those seasons, there's often one thing that I know that I can do to really break that pattern. And really, it's quite simple, and it's taking action. Most of the time, we know what it is that we need to do to move towards our goals and our dreams and our vision. And if we don't, really, it's just because we haven't taken enough time to gain clarity on the bigger picture vision for our lives, and to distill those values and dreams and visions into smaller actionable steps. And this is all basic stuff, I know, yeah. And sometimes we've also just got to simmer in the melting pot of life. It's the classic sayings of the flower blooms when the conditions are right. The caterpillar emerges from the cocoon precisely when it's meant to. And within this, I think there's a point that I really want to drive home, and it's all about envisioning the person that we wish to become and orienting our life in a way that incorporates the beliefs, the actions, the behaviors that our future self does and is, and making sure we actualize that on a daily basis. Another way of saying it is reaching forth towards the qualities of our future self and anchoring that into the here and now until those patterns become the default. And the more that we do that, the more that we override our old life, our old self, and we actually become more of the self, living more of the life that we wished and dreamed and actualized into existence. Some of you listening or watching this may be familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. You Are the Placebo. He's got another book, which I can't remember for the life of me right now. What is it? Supernatural or Superhuman? Something like that. But a lot of his meditations and programs focus on precisely this. And really, it's an ancient shamanic technique of reaching forth into the future and anchoring what it is in the future, the way that we feel, into the here and now. So there is no energetic discord, mismatch between the self in the here and the self in the now. The vibration is the same, and quite naturally through that, then we are going to start attracting those future possibilities to us, because the vibration from the future has already been anchored into the here and now. I hope that makes sense. And so, to come back to the content creation side of things, as of this year, if you've been following along, I've certainly been starting to enact a much bigger vision that has come to me. And really, this vision is, I kind of label it or brand it for myself as the road to 50K. By the end of this year, the benchmark figure that I am aiming for, at least on Instagram, as an arbitrary metric, which I'll talk about in a minute, is 50,000 followers. And that may seem a bit rich. It seems a bit rich to me, really. If I want to look at it in this way, since I'm only at like 1,500 followers. Long gone are the days where I had over 5,000 followers before I deleted that Instagram account. And part of me is kicking myself in that regard, since the social media landscape is just so different in this day and age. It requires a completely different set of tactics to try and grow your audience, attract eyes to the message that you're putting out. So yeah, why 50K? Why not 1,000? Why not 10,000? Why not 1 million? What about TikTok? What about YouTube? What about the podcast? All this kind of stuff. And as I mentioned, it's really a trivial metric and a trivial platform. And it's really not about the goal, the outcome of getting to 50K. That's not actually the important part here. What's important is the why, which is the intentions. It's the how, which is the journey. And it is the energetics behind it all. So when it comes to intentions, look, I probably understand Instagram the most, and I'm probably most drawn to that because of its aesthetic appeal of nice photos and high quality video, that kind of stuff. But I probably understand IG the most, Instagram the most, hence optimizing all of my short form content for that platform first. And look, the following are only potentials. There's no guarantees, but what I'm certainly calling in is more eyes, more reach, more wealth, more opportunities, more high quality collaborations, more abundance. And it's just a fact of the digital world that, digitally speaking, big numbers equals social proof, which equals higher value, which equals more importance. It's the social media hierarchy of status and significance. And, take that as you will. But yeah, look, I'm not really ever sure it's going to be fully possible to articulate the full breadth or depth of my intentions, or really any of our intentions when we are approaching something in life. We love to label something and say, this is what my intentions are, and kind of encapsulate it in that. But there's often so many layers: conscious, subconscious, unconscious, maybe even super conscious. But look, essentially this path for me, it's all about paying attention to the nudge from spirit and walking this path, my own pathless path, accordingly. In terms of energetics, I touched on this before to some degree. If I was to place 50K followers up on some kind of pedestal up here and my current self below that, there's the energetic mismatch. However, if I sincerely see the number 50,000 as totally within reach, absolutely doable, and I experience my self as deserving, worthy, and I have the innate esteem and the actions to back everything up, the resonance is aligned, the energy is a match, and the vision is already magnetized. And it's all about the journey of becoming who and what you envision yourself to be, doing the things that you envision yourself doing, and really manifesting and actualizing the epic life that we envision into reality. Like all this stuff, I've been talking about it in different regards, in law of vibration, attraction, manifestation, wisdom, all that stuff that I've been sharing lately. The one thing you can't do though is envision something like this, have the vision and put up some kind of vision board on the wall, but then just kick back and then do F all about it, just hoping that it all unfolds as imagined. There needs to be the practical steps. There needs to be action, structure, flow to make it all happen. The soul has the vision, the ego actualizes, manifests, gets stuff done in the world. So this ties into the how of the journey. And I've had this overarching framework in mind since the start of the year to kind of help me compartmentalize things to some degree. And the framework that I've been working with is consume, create, imaginate. So when it comes to consuming, I just ask myself some basic questions. What am I consuming? When am I consuming it? How am I consuming it? It's the basic kind of what, where, why, how, where, when questions. But really the point of it is, when I'm consuming something, is there and how can I create something out of that? So it allows me to be much more mindful and much more intentional when I am indeed consuming some kind of information or digital media. What can I create out of it? How am I learning from what it is that I'm consuming? How can I assimilate that into my own being and then offer it out to someone else with the vision that it's going to be helpful to someone else, and not just someone else, but it's going to be helpful for me as well through allowing me to cement in the teachings, the ideas, the insights from whatever it is that I'm consuming. Then I also ask myself the question, how is consuming this helping me actualize my vision? Yeah, you kind of get a feel of how all of this kind of consuming idea they're all linked, the consuming, the creating, the imagining. So consuming, how can I create out of that? What am I creating? How and when am I creating it? This ties into the how and the when. This is part of the structure, part of the actionable steps, day-to-day stuff. But how am I structuring the small and the large projects that I'm working towards? And then touching into intentions again. Why am I even creating it? Questions, lots of questions to ruminate on. Imaginating, where in my life am I allowing myself to imaginate, to dream, to be and become the hollow vessel, the hollow bone, the clear vessel, to allow spirit and soul to move through me in a deep way? How am I emptying the noise, resting, recuperating, to let the vision mature? And look, from that framework, consume, create, imaginate, that triangulation, I dissect things into my daily and my weekly rhythm. So I got productivity blocks to create. I have appropriate times to consume and imaginate. I'm certainly learning the mechanisms of growing an audience and proper structuring and scheduling to enact this entire vision. And also all the self-care to maintain the stamina. And really, it's taking this vision that wants to move through me and listening to the whispers from soul and spirit seriously, in a lighthearted way, but in a serious way. So to kind of break all of that down, like my down-to-earth, no BS kind of goals, vision, outcome over the next 6 months really looks like at least 5 video posts on IG per week. There's the bi-weekly value-packed newsletter that I'm putting out and then converting content from the newsletter into Solocast podcast episodes. There's at least 10 podcast episodes that I want to do with guests by mid-year. I know 10 doesn't sound like much, but hey, I've got to put it all into context of everything else that's going on in my life. There's the Primitive Friction Fire online course that I want to have active by March. There is my new Visionary Medicine online course that ideally I'd like to have that out by the end of the year. And then I've got a couple of books in mind. My first book, final draft, I want that completed by mid-year. And of course, that's not to mention all of the in-person gatherings, workshops, collaborations, and then after the 6-month period, reassess, recalibrate where needed. So it is a huge vision, I know, and no doubt there are going to be setbacks, challenges, they're all going to arise, but I am certainly activated. I'm here for the journey, and really, it's all about the journey. That's what it is, the journey. It's the classic saying, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. So look, I know I keep kind of harping on about my recent Primitive Friction Fire journey. And what's today? As of recording this today, wouldn't you know it, I'm on 100 days. Every single day of making Primitive Friction Fire, the ancient ways, with my hands. Yeah, there's the innate spiritual power that a discipline like Primitive Friction Fire can catalyze. I really cannot understate it. Drive, determination, discipline, grit, flow, fortitude, resilience, willpower. There is a spiritual fire that I have tapped into within that glows strong and bright. And it's partly one of the reasons why I'm putting this Primitive Friction Fire online course together, because it's, the practice of being able to make fire, create fire, generate an ember, turn that into a flame. These ancient nature-based wisdom skills and bushcraft techniques, they're awesome, but it's more than that. It's about way more than just making fire. It's about harnessing the divine flame within yourself and being able to direct that anywhere in your life to actualize transformation. So, look, whether it's the fire or this ridiculous vision involving content creation and social media and all this kind of stuff, if you need that kind of energetic transmission in your life, my invitation is to keep following along. Keep following along. My invitation is to keep following along and get inspired on this journey of your own creative expression and soul expansion. Part of the ways in which you can follow along is through the new program that I've put together. And this is an in-person program called The Pilgrimage, Shamanic Wilderness Expeditions. If you've been following me on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you may have seen me post about this. It's a 4-day, 3-night journey that is designed to help you learn these nature-based wisdom skills, activate more of your connection to your soul essence, and to amplify the spiritual gnosis that really wants to move through you. And really, this program presents a potent opportunity to stoke the spiritual fire burning within your belly. All about reclaiming your personal power, your truth, your inner authority to help you realize your inner belonging and worth, to reclaim that spiritual fire, the wild wisdom, the soul-centered leadership. So we're going to be anchoring ourselves in base camp over in Gadiwerd, the Grampians. And over the course of this 4-day, 3-night journey, you will be guided through a curated journey of nature awareness skills, shamanic processes, wilderness trekking, and much more. So if that sounds like it could be your thing, or you'd like to find more information, I'm also just watching this fly buzzing around, please reach out, get in touch, and I'll be happy to send some more information your way. It's all happening towards the end of March, and it's certainly the start of something epic that I plan on continuing to scale and expand upon and bring out to the masses. So yeah, early days, exciting days. Thanks for tuning in to the Solocast episode. I hope there was some kind of value in here when it comes to my behind-the-scenes journey of all of this content creation stuff in this weird and wacky digitized technological revolution, this convergence of ancient wisdom ways, shamanic processes and practices and philosophies, and the modern world. I hope that this listening was as fruitful as birdsong or morning wind. I'm Kayuda. This is Birdsong. See you next time.